Hey, future teachers, if you're looking at that Tamil Nadu teacher eligibility test syllabus and thinking, whoa, where do I even start? You're in exactly the right spot. We're going to break this whole thing down and turn it from this kind of dense document into a really clear roadmap for you. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, a quick look at the exam itself. Then, we'll get into understanding the young learner. Super important. After that, we'll talk about building those core subject skills. And finally, we'll wrap up with what I like to call the teacher's true north, the big idea behind it all. So let's jump right into part one. We're going to get that high-level, bird's-eye view of the exam. What's the blueprint for your prep look like? Okay, so take a look at this. The first thing that should jump out at you is just how balanced it is, right? You've got 5 core areas, and every single one has 30 multiple choice questions. That tells you something really important right off the bat. There's no favorite subject here. Each one carries the exact same weight, so you've got to give them all equal attention. And yeah, the math is super simple. 150 questions, 150 marks. That's your target. It's a one-to-one deal, which is great because it means every single question you get right is a solid point toward your goal. No tricks, just straightforward scoring. But this is where it gets really important. This is the why behind all those numbers. You're not just studying to pass a test, right? This is your ticket to teaching classes I to V. We're talking about shaping the minds of kids from ages 6 to 11. I mean, that's a huge deal. It's the foundation for everything that comes next for them. Okay, so that's the structure. Now let's get into the real heart of it. Section 2 is all about understanding the young learner. This is the absolute bedrock of teaching. The syllabus is basically saying, hey, before you even think about teaching math or language, you need to get who you're teaching. And it breaks this down into 2 big buckets. On one side, you have their cognitive development. That's all about how they think, how their little brains process information, reason, and remember stuff. Then on the other side, you've got their social and emotional development. You know, how they see themselves, how they make friends, and how they deal with all those big feelings. You got to understand both sides of that coin. And to do that, you're going to be digging into the work of some of the heavy hitters, people like Piaget and Erikson. It's not just about memorizing theories, though. It's about understanding the why. Like, why can a 7-year-old group all the red blocks together but totally get stuck on a more abstract idea? The syllabus really wants you to get a handle on these building blocks of a kid's mind, and even how things like the media they see can play a role in all of it. All right, so we've talked about who you're teaching. The next logical step is how do you teach them? So now we're moving into the core subject skills. And what you're going to see is that everything we just talked about, all that child development stuff, is woven into how you're expected to teach these subjects. When it comes to language, whether it's language I or II, the big message is focus on communication, not just memorizing grammar rules. Think about it from a kid's perspective. For a 7-year-old, language is about telling a story, asking for something, or understanding a friend. It's a tool. So the goal is to get them comfortable using it, listening, speaking, reading, and writing to connect with the world. Same idea with math. It's not about rote calculation. It's about real-world understanding. Remember what we said about kids this age thinking in concrete terms? Well, this is where that comes into play. The syllabus is pushing you to connect numbers to actual physical objects, to help them see patterns in nature, to use math to solve problems they can actually see and touch, not just abstract stuff on a worksheet. And for environmental studies, or EVS, the idea is to basically blow the walls off the classroom. It's all about hands-on interaction. Kids at this age are little scientists, right? They learn by touching, seeing, and doing. So you're meant to get them to explore the world around them, plants, animals, their own bodies, their community, through direct experience. Now this right here, this quote from the syllabus, this is the golden key. Learners construct knowledge for themselves. Constructing meaning is learning. This sums up the entire philosophy. It's telling us that learning isn't like pouring water into a glass. It's about giving kids the materials to build something for themselves. So what does that actually look like in a classroom? Well, the syllabus lays it out pretty clearly. You start with things the kids already know, real-life stuff. You get them talking and working with each other, and your job is to help them connect the dots, to build their own mental models of how things work. It's a huge shift in mindset. You're not the sage on the stage anymore. You're the guide on the side. Okay, so let's pull back for the big picture. We've gone through the structure, the learner, the subjects. What's the one single idea that ties all of this together? What's the teacher's true north? It all comes down to this one word, constructivism. It's a big word, but the idea is simple. Here's my favorite way to think about it. Are you the teacher who hands a kid a perfectly built Lego castle and says, "Look at this"? Or are you the teacher who dumps a pile of Legos on the floor and says, "Let's see what we can build together"? This syllabus wants you to be the second one. It's looking for a guide, not just a dispenser of facts. And that really leads to the most important question of all, one that goes way beyond just passing this test. So, what kind of teacher does this syllabus really want you to be? When you boil it all down, this exam is searching for a teacher who is child-centric, a facilitator, a nurturer, someone who creates a space where kids are active participants, not just passive listeners. A classroom where they feel safe enough to explore, to make mistakes, and to build their own knowledge. It's about teaching them how to learn so they can keep learning for the rest of their lives. That's the goal. That's your true north.